One thing that people always ask me, and this is a debate that I have on a regular basis. And if you disagree with me, you can feel free to be able to come up on the show. You do not have to cam up. You can cam up if you want to. It's up to you. A lot of people always try to take me to task about the idea of credit, the gamification of credit in order to build wealth. I see all of these Instagram experts that talk about using other people's money in order to get rich, and I absolutely, positively, 100% disagree with it. I want to stake my claim, draw my line in the sand, and it may work for you, but this is not the thing that I'm advocating for my people. And it all stems from a foundation in that you are to owe no man nothing, and I owe no man, not one person on the face of this earth, nothing. And people continue to try to share with you. And I was watching a video yesterday of a content creator that dropped a video, and he was talking about how he leveraged other people's money to get rich and how he's still doing it and all of this stuff. I don't believe in that. I honestly don't believe in it. Can banks be a tool? Absolutely, 100%. Can credit be a tool? Undeniably, 100%. But the thing that I'm trying to get you guys to understand is that the goal is to be 100% owned and operated and profitable, and not to have anybody in your pockets. No one. I can't even understand for the life of me how people that have money and resources, and I'm not talking about as a corporate entity. I'm not talking about Apple holding on to debt because money is cheap, because there's a way to hack that, right? It's a completely different conversation when you're talking about it on a larger scale as a corporation and how it is that they leverage debt in order to continue to remain or service or make money. That's completely different than you on an individual level. We're talking about on an individual level. My goal in life and my standard for how I live my life has always been by 40 years old, I don't want any debt and I don't want a bank in my pocket. I don't want any debt and I don't want a bank in my pocket. If I only owned one property, but it was mortgage free, I would be happier than owning 20 properties that had a mortgage on it and I was depending on people in order to pay off the mortgage. Now, a lot of people would ask me and they would say, well, Anton, why is that? Because if you can leverage other people's money, including the bank, and when I say other people's money, I'm talking about the bank. If you can leverage other people's money in order to continue to build wealth, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you leverage the bank? Why would I give money over to the bank? And this is my initial thought. And then I'm going to mine this out a little bit for y'all so that y'all can understand where I'm coming from. Why would I give money over into the bank in the form of interest just to be able to say that I'm in the real estate game? The goal, for me, is to maximize profits. So the faster that I pay off the mortgage, the more money I can keep inside of my pocket, because then the only thing that I have to pay is property taxes, insurance, and then whatever the cost is in order to maintain the property. I want 100% of the profits. The minute that I figure out how I can use these platforms as a funnel and keep 100% of the profits and not have to split it with whatever platform that I'm streaming on, I will do it. If I can figure out how to cut out the middleman, the goal is always to cut out the middleman. Whether you in the dope game, the real estate game, the whole game, the goal is to cut out the middleman. I don't need hard money loans in order to finance my stuff because I've lowered my lifestyle enough to be able to do it myself. I don't need any investors in my businesses. The goal was to always be able to be 100% of myself. When you see a poker player and they say, hey, I'm selling 50% of myself, I'm selling 25% of myself, I'm selling 75% of myself, they're using other people's money in order to stake themselves in tournaments or in cash money games in order for them to be able to continue to play. They're leveraging other people's money and they're selling their talent in order to do so. But if I can own 100% of if I'm that good and I can own 100% of myself, why wouldn't I? Well, one of the reasons is that they're mitigating risk. Another reason that people then do that in real estate is because they think that they can grow faster. But here's the problem with that, is that when people are telling you, when they're having these conversations about real estate, the one thing that they're not explaining to you is that when the risk gets larger, right, meaning that the economy goes up and down, and since the beginning of history, it's always been up and down. What happens when the economy crashes and the bank calls in a loan and you don't have the money to be able to pay it? What happens if the economy crashes and then multiple different renters, such as what happened during the pandemic, can't pay their rent? One of the things that I've always been able to do since I've gotten into the real estate game is mitigate risk. You know why? Because I don't have the same overhead and expenses. Because no matter what, the bank want their money. Regardless of how many people was a part of the moratorium, the bank wanted their money. So a lot of homeowners would then, because let's be clear, most of the people that's renting out their properties on an individual level, they don't have a whole lot of properties. They're not institutional investors. There's plenty of different ways in which you can make money in real estate. Some people wholesale, in which they don't own any property, but they're basically making money being the middleman between the buyer and the seller in order to convince the seller to sell a property at a specific price by cold calling or doing whatever it is that they need to do, and then they then give the deal over into the buyer, right? The wholesalers don't own real estate. The wholesalers is making money being the middleman, okay? Flippers, on the flip side, which is the thing that Flippin' NJ, Caesar Pena, and then Envy was a part of, are people that go in, speculate. A lot of times they go into lower income properties, or they have to speculate based off of what they can hopefully sell the property for, then have the banks inside of their pockets. So what they do is they have hard money lenders lend them money in order for them to continue to redevelop the property and hopefully sell it at a profit exponentially more than whatever it is that it took for them to develop it and buy the property, right? Meaning that they're leveraging the hard money lender's money in order to get into the business. This is why when Envy and all of them, and they would do these seminars, they would say, yeah, we got hard money lenders there and all of that. Well, a hard money lender is going to charge you an egregious amount. I know y'all love that word, an egregious amount of interest. So they're up against a timeline, because the quicker that they can have to get that property back to the market and hopefully get it sold, the more time or how much longer, and every month that they carry over that property, it eats into the profitability of it. So either they have to adjust for the market price and sell it for a higher price, or they have to take a lower end of it. And a lot of flippers lose their shirt because either they don't know what they're doing, or it takes one or two bad deals to completely crash them. And so now what you see from a person like Caesar, he may have had good intentions and not necessarily was trying to run what they're calling a Ponzi scheme. But what's really happening is that they speculated and they were leveraging other people's money in order to get into these businesses, probably so that they didn't have to do as many hard money loans. And then when they said that they was worth a certain amount of money, it was based off of what they were projecting to do and not necessarily what they had in their pockets. So when we talk about money, and the goal ultimately for me personally is to own each individual property and then snowball it. If you are a part of the Patreon and you looked at the video that I have that's basically called reverse snowballing, and what that method is, I break it down. I break down my mentality in that. Make sure you go and check out that video, in addition to the interviews, in addition to the interview Lucky King and all of the mastermind sessions and everything that's inside of the Patreon. And I plan on doing a live stream on Sunday. But my point is, I'm basically doing the reverse of what it is that you're doing as far as how it is that you're trying to leverage your resources in order to get into, let's say, the stock market, or what your 401k does, or what your Roth IRA does, or if you have the money and the resources, then what you do is you become the bank. I don't want to participate with the bank. I want to become the bank. The goal is to be the person that owns, leverages, and finances everything myself. The only reason I ever want to be participating in the banking system is to be able to transfer money back and forth and making it easier for me to be able to get my money here and then move it there. I don't need the bank for anything. I don't need the bank for nothing. I don't want to pay the bank one dime of interest. I don't want to pay credit card interest. I don't want to pay mortgage interest. I don't want to pay car interest. I don't want to pay anything. Because the more money that I have in my pocket, the more I can deploy into my own resources. And that is what real wealth looks like. See, what we've done is we've remixed what the word of God has told us to do, and it's to be fruitful, multiply, and owe no man nothing. So you may have been in a system, or you may have been programmed to think, oh, okay, well, I can leverage the bank or low interest or money or whatever. Dog, that's just the gamification in order to keep you broke, because most people leverage credit the wrong way. They leveraging it the wrong way. The goal is to get to a point to where you become the bank, not you become interdependent on the bank. Don't you know that they market it to you? They're marketing it to you. They're marketing these interest rates to you. They're marketing 30-year mortgages. They're marketing 15-year mortgages. They're marketing all of these things because it's an opportunity for them to make more money from you. When I am the bank, I control the time. I don't have the pressures that people that have hard money loans have. I don't have to worry about cutting corners. I can take my time. I can go through the approval process. I can make sure that all of my contractors is doing what they're supposed to do. Everybody gets paid on time. Everybody is having a good time. Y'all know that I'm building these properties, and I got multiple different properties now going up all at the same time. But the main one that's the furthest along, and I've shared that with you guys inside of the Patreon. I'll give you an update on Sunday. We just poured not only the foundation, but we poured the basement walls. And so now they're basically putting the dirt back, and they're building and setting the foundation for the garage. And now everything is starting to go up. And so it's a process, right? And because, it's our first time working with the people from these poured walls. And so thank God for all of my connections and my architect and my general contractors. They're absolutely awesome. And it's funny because when we poured it and we had things taken care of, they then, sent me a bill, and the bill was $28,000. And so Rita got on the phone with him, and she was like, okay, where you want us to wire it to or whatever, so on and so forth, or do you want us to just pay it like this, whatever? And it was like, oh, no, just call the bank and have them issue out the payment. And because it's our first time doing this, building a home from scratch, she was like, what you mean? Oh, no. And this is what the lady was saying. Just call the bank and have them issue out the payment. From the loans. Because really what happens is you get a construction loan and then you combine it or whatever. And then once the house is finished being built, they basically convert it over because they give you a value of the property, and they convert it over into a mortgage, right? And so basically you're just going through a process that ultimately still has you in a 30-year mortgage, right? And so she was like, oh, no, we don't have no bank loans. And the lady was listening to her and looking at her. And I was on the phone with Rita. I said, they don't have nobody that's cashing out? Everybody is financing? Is that the move? And so Rita was like, I guess so. So I had to wind up going over into the bank, getting a $28,000 cashier's check, mailing it to them physically, and then they just emailed me and said, they emailed me yesterday and said, we got the check. At some point, we have to stop being a part of the matrix and letting social media, marketing, banks, whatever it is that you have going on, we have to stop allowing for these people to continue to market to you debt in the form of wealth. That's not wealth. Credit is not the goal. I understand the use of credit. I understand that you can leverage it, but ultimately you want to mitigate risk. You want to become the bank. You want to become the bank. Now, interestingly enough, I'm not interested in flipping either. I will own this house for the rest of my life. I will own every single property that I have for the rest of my life. ownership is what you want. You want to become the bank. You want to own yourself. And then you want to leverage your talents in order to generate the revenue that ultimately gets you more into becoming more of an owner of the assets that then appreciate over time. I don't worry about whether or not renters are going to be here or whatever, so on and so forth. And a lot of you are already familiar. I've explained it to you inside of the Patreon about how you vet a tenant effectively, and I can go over that again this weekend if you guys missed it. Wealth Building Journey says only use credit to accelerate ownership. I disagree with that. I don't think that you should use credit to accelerate ownership. If you're using credit, you're not accelerating ownership. You're just more in somebody else's pocket. You can't accelerate ownership because you still have a creditor. If you're saying use credit in order to expand the business or something like that, then there are use cases on an individual level in order to do so. All of y'all ran out and got these Navy credit, Navy federal credit, and all of this other type of stuff. For what? For what? What did you do it?